This year's first Altogether Archaeology module in the Northumberland National Park took place at Sewingshields farm with the Tynedale Archaeology Group. This short documentary is a snapshot of what the group got up to over their week of survey at Sewingshields farm. Tynedale Archaeology Group is most interested in prehistoric landscapes north of Hadrian's Wall. Their work is proving that Roman archaeology isn't the only thing up there. Their survey of Ravensheugh Crags last year uncovered a wealth of prehistoric sites from the Bronze Age and Iron Age. Here's Phil, one of the group's founding members, with a rundown of the archaeology of the area.
To put it all in overall context, the area that Anne and I started looking at is Ravensheugh Crags, an extensive Bronze Age burial site with a large number of cup-marked earth-fast stones, at least 30 cup-marked stones, and it certainly seems to be in some sort of relationship to the burials. Also at that site we found two burnt mounds, which are Bronze Age features arising from technology for heating up water using hot stones into a trough of water. Coming towards us from there is the only stone row in Northumberland, which we surveyed in September. Rob Young in the National Parks book from a few years ago on archaeology in the park described that stone row as exceptional in the Northumbrian context. In between here and there's a couple of unenclosed settlements, usually attributed to the Bronze Age, around Ravensheugh Crags. Further along that ridge there's an enclosed settlement, usually attributed as Iron Age Romano-British. There are a couple of cup-marked stones within that enclosure area. It's difficult to see whether they're stones or sheep exactly. There are cup-marked stones there. Come along here, there's a stone circle. We're now coming up, the bank coming up the other side that you can see is King's Crags, the other side of this other plantation. Yeah? Okay. Running along there are a couple of kist burials. Okay. There are a series of larger cairns. There's no doubt King's Crags was a major Bronze Age burial area with several different types of cairns, so probably over quite a prolonged period. Then you have Queen's Crags, this one here, which is the highest crags barring the Sewingshields. Yep. Yeah? Up there is a known, well, it's called a Romano-British settlement, and that is our Area 3. We did find, what has not been previously identified, a couple of small cairns up there. We have also found, both on the March survey and Anne and I previously, we have found a large cup-marked boulder and another one with a nice crescent of 5 cup marks on it. There is a roundhouse base actually outside the enclosure, and the new cup-marked stone is right beside that. So there's a fascinating thing. Yeah. Also, there are other linear possible boundary features up there. Yeah. So that's our third area, and up along there runs the Black Dyke.
The goal of this year's survey module was to build on the results of the Level 1 survey that the group conducted in March 2014. The survey aimed to record a Level 3 amount of detail. Here's Pete Schofield, the survey expert from Oxford Archaeology North, explaining the goals of a Level 3 survey and how we set about doing it in the field.
At a Level 3 survey, what we're trying to do is trying to create a hashed drawing of the site. There's 3 things we need to do in order for that to happen. The first one is you need to get your eye in on what you're looking at. Now it's really good on this site because it's really short cropped grass. The cows have been and the sheep have been very generous to us. So yeah, we should be able to have a good look. Now at the moment you must be just seeing lumps and bumps on the ground, yeah?
No, do just more the longer I
stand. Yeah. So whereas on the Level 1 survey you'd have put a dot on the map and said, here be a settlementy thing or some enclosures.
Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. What we're trying to do is we're trying to pick it apart. We want to find out, oh yeah, there's a little paddock here, there's an enclosure here, there's possibly a house here, there's some other features. So they're all in this one site. So this is a complex feature. So in order to do that, we walk over it and have a good look. and try and get a rough idea of what's there. Then what we do is we'll break out the flags, which are over here, in that bag over there. So we've got red flags and green flags, and what we do is I'll send you all off, and you want to use the red flags for a top of a slope and a green flag for a bottom of a slope, and then that's the first thing we do. We want to identify and define the breaks of slope and the features. If we can do that, then we get on to using the equipment to actually survey in where the flags are.
One thing the group was particularly interested in learning more about was a possible enclosed settlement. This feature caught Phil and Anne Bowyer's eye on an earlier survey a couple of years ago. At the time they did not know it was recorded as a stack stand on the Historic Environment Record, so they looked at it without any preconceptions.
Let's orientate it.
Oh, we don't need to do the survey now.
We are standing right?
Yep.
So this is that high bank. You've got the light coming, the shadow coming from this side. So this is this high bank. One of the things in terms of, I'm certainly pushing the argument that this certainly ain't stack stands. But one thing you can say, stack stands don't have entrances.
No.
Houses do.
This feature formed the core of Area 1. The group also identified two other spots, Area 2 further to the north and Area 3 far off to the west on Queen's Crags, to investigate during the week. The survey uncovered a huge amount of information. In Area 1, the finished site drawing for the probable medieval farmstead revealed a rectangular platform domestic structure. It had possible annexes to both the north and south sides of the structure, with a small yard attached to the northeast corner and a subdivided paddock containing a small stock shelter. Survey Area 2 contained a more spread-out farming landscape. It included several phases of north-south and east-west oriented field boundaries, which surrounded several possible stock enclosures. The people who built this place took advantage of the lie of the land, creating their fields in the sheltered ground between two bands of exposed crag. Just behind the summit of one of these crags was a double alignment of stones.
One of the interesting things about that is stone rows are normally thought of as being a Neolithic feature. There is very little, almost to the point of zero, evidence of Neolithic activity in upland areas of the national upland areas in Northumberland. So if it is a Neolithic feature, it's of major importance because they were here. There's evidence, it's evidence. If it's not Neolithic, then it's interesting because it's a stone row that doesn't happen to be Neolithic. Either way round, it's an interesting site, right?
Upon detailed investigation, we've realised that the site is more likely to be the eroded remains of a medieval period field boundary. Area 3 contained dispersed stack stands and two panels of rock art, along with a well-preserved example of a Romano-British period enclosed settlement set within contemporary parallel field boundaries. Although he was sadly not able to stay to survey the site over the weekend, Pete did some overtime and quickly made a GPS survey of the features. Over the weekend, Tynedale Archaeology Group members independently completed his survey and used his GPS plan to form the basis of a Hachur plan of the site. They were later joined by Jamie Quartermain, also of Oxford Archaeology North, who brought his miniature helicopter out to site to take some aerial photographs.
There's always this question as well as what you see on the surface is just the remains of the final stage of occupation. And the site, good site is a good site, might have been occupied previously.